Okay. Debbie Bailey,
Hello,
how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, I'll welcome you to our uh, first session today with Dr. Carlia East. And I'm going to introduce her. And she is a clinical psychotherapist, licensed mental health counselor, motivational speaker, and author. She is the founding CEO of Smile Psychology and Associates LLC and Dr. East Sapphire Woman Pathways organization allows Dr. East to share her dedication to helping others reach their highest potential with the women who need it most. Sapphire Woman Pathways supports women impacted by incarceration by guiding them through healing painful wounds from the past, building confidence and self-efficacy, and gaining strength by providing pathways of education, therapy, and civic engagement. She is the mental health project director at St. Petersburg College and a popular and respected psychology professor. She earned her Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from the University of Central Florida and her Master of Arts degree in mental health counseling from Argosy University. She completed her PhD in general psychology at Capella University and maintains professional training certifications from Connect, Suicide Intervention, and National Mental Health First Aid. And I know I cannot go any further without acknowledging the fact that she is a proud member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority. She is also the author of 2 books, The Hangover, Over Emotional Addiction, and Don't Wait for Love, because love, L.O.V.E. She is a clinical correspondent with Bay News 9 and Channel 10 News, and her motivational speaking work through Dr. East Speaks provides keynote addresses, life purpose coaching, personal and professional development seminars, and community-based workshops on topics including, but not limited to, anxiety, divorce, and emotional addiction across the United States. With laughter and love, Dr. East inspires others to reclaim their power, embrace their truth, and design their destiny. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce and present to you Dr. Carlia East, and I'm going to turn this over now to our Zoom producer. I'm changing us to speaker view, and the next person that you hear will be Dr. Carlia East.
All righty, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to do like this as the crowd goes wild. I'm like, is he talking about me? Is that your girl that he's talking about? I did all of that. Oh, snap, pop collar. But anyway, I'm Dr. East, and I am so excited about giving y'all some nuggets today. I am a very unconventional licensed mental health counselor and clinical psychotherapist. I give it to you real, I give it to you raw, but with much education and alphabets behind my name. And the whole point is that I feel like I'm a bridge for our community, right? Especially for us when it comes to mental health and being able to talk about things and feel comfortable and not feel the stigmas associated with it. And so I bring my own brand of flavor and color and authenticity to the game because I want everyone in the room to understand that mental wellness is a maintenance plan. That's all it is. It is a maintenance plan for your life. And it's one of the primary reasons why our population, particularly people of color, are behind the 8 ball, up to 3 steps behind, because we're not taking care of ourselves mentally. We're not making sure that we're securing that bag mentally, right? We're so busy trying to secure the bag, in the coinage, but we're not taking care of ourselves. And one of the main frames that I find is something that is definitely hitting us more and more and more is anxiety. That's one of the top mental health disparities, wellness challenges that we are being faced with. And as people of color, we have got to do better about taking responsibility and understanding what that is. So I want to start with a little bit of opening just to give you guys some backdrop, and then I'll share my screen, go through my PowerPoint, give y'all some nuggets and all of that. But this will give you some time to get your paper and pencil because you're going to need it. I was diagnosed with testing anxiety probably when I entered my first year of college. And I didn't know I had testing anxiety until I sat down to take my placement test, and the whole right side of my body went numb. I went blind in my right eye. I went numb in my right ligaments. I couldn't feel or see anything. My anxiety attack had turned into hysteria which is basically an outcome of physical symptoms that don't have any medical logic or reasoning to them, but they happen because your body goes into this severe panic or shock mode. And it basically just shuts down. It's like, oh, I can't handle it, I'm gonna pass out, right? So only half of my body passed out. So that was my first experience with having, severe anxiety and panic around testing, because I didn't have the issues anywhere else. So it was hard for me to recognize that, wait a minute, someone that's going to school for counseling and that's in this field has testing anxiety. But then I had to realize the same person that was just described in this opening is also a human being first, right? Meet Dr. Carlia East, she is of the human species, right? And so I think that I want to start with giving you all that message. Start thinking of yourselves as human beings. We got to get back to humanity, not just in respect to the ignorance that's in the world today, but just in respect to ourselves, because we are holding ourselves to certain expectations in certain regards that just aren't healthy for us. They're not realistic for us, and they're really not designed for us by us, okay? And so I think it's really important that we embrace this space of being a human being and understand that angst is a part of humanity. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and jump right into our PowerPoint. All right, make sure you can see this well. Can I get a thumbs up if everybody can see this okay? All right, awesome. Okay, awesome. All right, so I already Jerome already introduced me, because he's amazing, right? He's absolutely amazing. And so I'm just gonna jump right into recognizing anxiety, because one of the things that I think is so vital to this is really you understanding what anxiety is and what it isn't, and where it comes from, where it starts. Like, what are those gateway initial responses that kind of start pushing the envelope at first? So the first thing that you've got to kind of take stock in is your daily hassles, okay? So daily hassles are your everyday things that bother you. So for the ladies, for instance, it may be, our hair is just not doing what it's supposed to do, okay? Or our skinny jeans ain't skinny anymore, right? Or, it could be traffic. Traffic is a major issue when it comes to trying to find your way, and change your mood. It could be the weather, right? So all of these things are daily hassles. Or how about just gas prices and grocery prices? So these are all small things that we think are small, right? But they impact us. They cause us to pause. They cause us to get a little frustrated. Now, most of us have ways of, rationalizing that and realizing that's just part of the, part of the course. That's just how I have to handle things. So the next level that comes off of that, if you're not dealing with those daily hassles, very well, would be stress. Now, it is my opinion, my professional opinion, that really stress is the gateway to all mental health, issues. It really is, because when you think about how the brain reacts, the first thing that comes under attack is our ability to handle things, right? Our ability to mentally measure and deal and cope with what's going on. And so when that interruption takes place, it takes place because of stress. So that really is the gateway to everything, is that stress. Now, stress is deeper than a daily hassles. It's deeper than your skinny jeans or your muscle shirt that's not so muscular, right? Stress is maybe that ongoing nagging thing that's persistent in your life that you have to deal with every single day, that's ongoing. And so in dealing with that, not in the best way, that can then add on top, and now you have anxiety. So really it builds as like kind of a domino effect. You have your daily hassles, which are just your everyday annoyances. You have the stressors, which are your constant stressors, and you have what is anxiety after that builds up. Let me give you a backdrop into your body, okay? So every last person has two reserves, okay? And this is kind of like a metaphorical way of you seeing where your stress levels lie, okay? Every person has two reserves. So you have the primary stress reserve that we use every single day. That's the one that we go to bed, we recharge it while we're sleeping or resting, we wake up in the morning, we start our day, and then we use that throughout the day. Then you have that reserve tank. That reserve is for like those serious, catastrophic, WTF moments, like what in the heck is going on around here? So that's what that is for. So those are for unfortunate deaths, for passings or breakups or, separations, job losses, those kind of major things that don't hit us every single day, but are a part of life, okay? So check it. If you are not dealing with your stress and your daily hassles in an appropriate way, you are literally starting off your day lower in your reserve than you should be. Okay, so let's just give you a basic day. Let's say you get up in the morning, you have your daily hassles that stress you. That takes away from your reserve. You have the constant people in your office, like the Karens and the Calebs, they annoy you. So that takes away from your reserve. And then you have to go home and deal with the dog or kids or your mates or whatever, and that takes away from your reserve. Now, meanwhile, you haven't restored anything. So rest is your restoration, right? So you go to sleep, but you go to sleep with stuff on your mind. So when you toss, you're thinking about it. When you turn, you're thinking about it, right? How many people have had that experience? Don't raise your hands. I know we all have. So when you wake up in the morning, you're not waking up at 100. Honey, you're not even waking up at 80. You're probably around 65, 70%. And that's on a Monday. Think about where you are by Friday. That's why you be snapping on people by Friday, because your patience is limited. That's why. So I need you to understand that. So what will happen is you'll use up your primary and then eventually start using up the reserve. Now, why am I telling you about the primary reserve? Because I need every last one of you to recognize many of us, and when I say many, I say 80%, keeping it real, 80% of us are running on our reserve right now. 80% of us are running on our reserve. Let me tell you why. We are dealing what basically is called compound traumas is what we're dealing with, right? So we have multiple pandemics, right, of epic proportion. We have COVID pandemic, we have a racial pandemic, we have a gender pandemic, right? So we have all these different things that are impacting us. So we are already using our primary source, and now we're into the reserves because our lives have been shifted in a major way. Things that we used to connect with, we don't connect the same way anymore, right? That person that you used to see in the hallway or at your office on a regular basis, you may not see him or her anymore. So you don't realize how much that stopping and shooting the crap for a few minutes actually helped you to de-stress, right? And get your mind ready to go into the next meeting or the next classroom or deal with the next client. And that is something that's been taken away. But what has been inserted? Fear, concern. All of that equals angst, okay? So I wanted to paint a very global picture before I start flipping through slides so that you all can really understand where you are emotionally. Every person that is on this call and those that aren't, about 30% of your emotional capacity is already used up when you wake up in the morning. 30%, just because of knowing what we are going to have to face, what we are going to deal with, what we're going to move forward in. Every time you put that mask on, right? Every time you go into a building, every time you see the news, there's a constant reminder of the times that we are in. And so again, it's not that we are going to ignore it. We take stock in it, we're aware of it, but I need you to accept it and embrace it as a part of our norm right now, okay? Because when you don't embrace the things that are constant stressors in our lives, then you allow them to actually take control and take hold, all right? So let's talk about what anxiety is and what anxiety isn't, because people think anxiety is just feeling nervousness and, being worried all the time. That's just a very, very small piece of the pie. Anxiety is so much more. It irritates you because it interrupts your ability to be you. It interrupts your ability to focus and concentrate. Your memory, oh, you can forget about that, honey. Going from that short term to long term, you walk from one room to the other. You can't remember what you walked into that room for, because anxiety will cause you to kind of skip and forget parts. Anxiety causes you to avoid people, to avoid places, to avoid situations, to avoid relationships. Anxiety also causes guilt that you have anxiety, guilt that you can't find motivation, guilt that you just don't feel like it, guilt that you don't feel like adulting today, right? Guilt that you really didn't care what your kid ate for lunch today, okay? That's what anxiety does. It causes all these different areas to flutter and influx, okay? It can also cause heart palpitations. It can mimic some of the emotions of like a cardiac arrest situation, not a full heart attack or stroke, but you literally can feel your heart beating through your chest. You can feel prickly and tingling sensations in your extremities and your legs. You often may get migraines or other headaches. People will experience upset stomach or aches and pains in places that you didn't realize you had aches and pains in, right? This is all anxiety. It is a mother of an experience, but it is one that is very, easily and without medication, capable to overcome, right? And capable to get through. I also want to just touch on this piece right here where it talks about intrusive thoughts. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more in the PowerPoint, but I want you all to put a pin in intrusive thoughts. I want everybody just to write that down and put a pin in it, because the way that you think and how you allow thoughts to invade your mind on a regular basis is going to have a huge impact in your ability to move forward and to move past things that are in your emotional way, right? So I really want you guys to put a pin on intrusive thoughts. We're going to talk about it a little bit. Now, let's talk about anxiety at work, because anxiety doesn't really care where you are. It will creep up on you in a hot minute and let you know who's in charge. So I think it's important for those of you that have to go into the workplace every day, and even if you don't, you're dealing with additional stressors of work invading your home life, right? Trying to create office spaces and all these different things and trying to balance family and balance yourself. One of the things that you want to make sure that you do first is self-monitor before you start your day. And I put these bullets up here because I want you guys to be able to just take a snapshot of it and have it, okay? Because I want you to focus on the words that are coming out of my mouth. Check yourself in the morning, okay? Meaning after you've said your prayers and after you've done your meditation or whatever your morning ritual is, just kind of sit down for a minute and be like, all right, now, where you at today? How you feeling? And I typically do it facing a mirror because I want to see me talk back to me, right? But I check myself. I monitor where I am emotionally. How do I feel? You know, do I feel motivated to start my day, or am I a little bit sluggish? Where is my tolerance for frustration on this good morning? Because you can wake up and already be tired, right? But I think it's important that when you check yourself and when you self-monitor, you're able to then be an adult, right, about how you want to manage your day, and you're able to put certain things in place before you even leave your house so that you can make sure that you're not adding to that negative energy. The next thing you want to do is locate a primary person for information and updates. So particularly when you have a workspace where there's a bunch of people with opinions and everybody's got something to say, and you may work at one of those jobs where it's kind of a trickle down effect of information, or you know, the information is not always consistent across the board. Have one person that you speak to on your team, just that one primary person. I can't tell you how it saves time having a point of contact or point of reference for work, because that way you're getting updated and correct information, and you're not just following, you know, someone's gut or feeling or opinion or what they think should move. The next thing you want to do is connect with a coworker that can be like your homie. I would tell you, I have a coworker at my job, and we call each other cellmates, right? Because, you know, we doing time together, right? And so we call each other cellmates. And so she is like my confidant. She is my work buddy. You know, you've heard the phrase like work wife, work husband, you know, whatever that is, but she's my buddy. And we have a safe conversation space between the two of us where we can talk as much smack as we want about anybody at the building, and it only stays between the two of us, okay? Again, connect with a coworker. And maybe that coworker may not have that type of familial, you know, type of relationship that I have with mine. Maybe it's just for work, but still connect with someone on your level that understands your pains, right? That get the process of what you're experiencing so that you can know that your feelings are valid and that you have that additional support. Recognize what's in your control. Now, this can be said across the board on many things, but at work, definitely recognize what's in your control. Know your job description. And I say that because many of us are working way beyond our job descriptions because we're loyal and because we believe in the company, or we, you know, they'll remember the first time I say no, you know, all of these things. But wait a minute. What is really in your control at that job and what isn't? So how much time do you want to continue to put in a space where you're not going to get the credit for it or the accolade or the acknowledgement, right? Or because you're a part of it and that's not your role, maybe you're seen as overstepping. So I think it's important that you recognize what's in your control at work and what's not in your control. Stay in your lane, be efficient and a boss at what you do. You know when to shine, you know when not to, but don't think that everything that goes on has to be on you. Even if you're the supervisor, it's called delegating, right? And putting those responsibilities on the people. You can't carry it alone. Next is you want to take time to release. And this is so vital, meaning take your breaks at work, whatever they are, whether it's a 15-minute, a 5-minute, maybe you feel like you don't need it. Oh, I'll just work through lunch. Stop. Okay, I said so. Stop working through lunch. The reason why the break is there is for your mind to reset, for you to have an opportunity not to think about work, not to think about home, not to think about your grocery list, not to do any of those things. Just sit and enjoy your meal without pressure, without angst, without stress. It also gives your brain the 30 minutes minimally that it needs to reset and restart, rejuvenate, right? And kind of get on task to what it's supposed to be doing. So trust me when I tell you, take timeouts at work. Take your lunch break outside when it gets cooler. You know what I mean? Go find a room or a break room that has a window in it, but find a way for you to release. Put on your headphones, put on some Teddy P, and have a whole soul moment in your office by yourself with the door closed and the little keyholes they can see through covered because I'm at lunch. All right? Take your time out, okay? All right, let's move on. One of the things that I want you, or another thing that I want you to pull from this is the fact that it's a challenge, not a struggle. Now, I know we constantly hear, the euphemism, the struggle is real, but think about the word struggle. Just think about when you hear the word struggle, how that automatically makes you feel like you're tired. Just hearing the word struggle is like, I'm so exhausted. Oh my God, I got to struggle through this. Struggle, that word just has weight that is attached to it. Now, I want you to think about the word challenge. And when you hear a challenge, does it have the same vibe? It just doesn't have the same weight or the same heaviness. When I hear the word challenge, I hear like, oh, that's what you think you're going to do. Watch me work. I'll be back. Let me go change it to my cape, right? So what I want us to start doing is recognizing that what we have are challenges and not struggles, okay? We can face it. It's all about reframing the way that you're thinking about it. If I look at something as always being a struggle, then I'm always going to struggle through it. Y'all hear what I'm saying? If I look at something as always being a struggle, then I am always going to struggle through it. But if I start viewing something as being a challenge, then I'm going to overcome it. I'm going to master it, right? Again, I'm going to crawl out of it. That's what that means. So you've got to start changing and reframing the way you view whatever's in front of you, whatever that hurdle is. It's not a struggle, it's a challenge. So when you're pushing through these challenges, how do we do that, right? It may seem easy, but it's not. And sometimes we got to remind ourselves of a few things. So number one, remind yourself of the things you've done in your past. Like, this is not your first challenge. We're Black, so it's definitely not our first challenge, right? And it will not be our last challenge. We will deal with challenges for the rest of our lives because it comes attached to the melanin in our skin, just because our greatness is so unspoken that people can just hear it from miles away, okay? And that's just the bottom line. So remind yourself of what you've already overcome, what you've already completed, what you've already done, because you've done these things already. So stop forgetting how amazing and awesome you already were. Like, okay, so this is not that difficult because I've been down this road before or down a path that's similar. So I already got a bit of a recipe on how I'm going to get through the next time, okay? Next thing you want to do is identify your positive outcomes. Now, we tend to always be half empty thinkers, but we've got to be glass half full thinkers. And it takes, let me tell y'all something, it is some hard work to be optimistic all the time. Like, that takes effort, right? Even for your girl, it takes effort to be positive because you have to remind yourself of the goodness. Remember, if there's all this bad and this negativity, y'all know it's a counter. There's a countermeasure. It's called good. It's called prosperity, right? Positivity, motivation, upward movement, increase. So identify positive outcomes. Stop always talking about what you're not going to do, how it's not going to make it. You know, you're going to fail if that happens. What about I'm going to succeed if this happens? if I do this, this will be a positive outcome. And reframe what you view as a positive outcome. Because just because you might have a pause in your plan, that doesn't mean that it's a negative. It's just giving you time to make sure that you got your stuff in alignment and together so that you can move forward. So be mindful of that. Number 3, include your emotional checks. Sometimes when you're working on projects and you're trying to push through your challenges, it's hard and you get tired and you get emotional, and you need to allow yourself space for that. Because remember what I talked about first, you're a human being first, humanity, right? And so you've got to allow yourself time to have some emotional checks, like check yourself emotionally. If you're not feeling it that day, maybe you need to take a break, and maybe it won't be the whole day. Maybe it's just an hour or 20 or 30 minutes or half a day, but include emotional checks because you matter. This is your challenge that you're pushing through. And just because you pause in that challenge doesn't mean that you're quitting. You're resetting. Hello? Just because you pause in that challenge, it doesn't mean that you're quitting. You're just resetting. You're allowing yourself time for you to breathe, for you to collect your thoughts because you've gotten frustrated or you've gotten overwhelmed or you've gotten emotional or doubtful. And you just give yourself a set, like, okay, let me, get back to being a G. And then you bring it back. Also celebrate your progress. You have to celebrate you before somebody else will. And then you tell them how to celebrate you and how you wish to be celebrated, right? I'm quick to throw on a happy dance. It don't matter. Something good eat to me, happy dance. I like a song that come on, happy dance. My husband put a little money in my account, happy dance. Karen don't bother me at work, happy dance, right? My point is celebrate your progress. Celebrate even the smallest things, because every small thing ends up in a big accomplishment, right? So celebrate that. Celebrate your progress. Celebrate your steps. Celebrate the things that you're doing and pushing through, and be proud of that. You don't have to wait until you're done with the project to celebrate. Like, think about that. Why do we do that? Why do we wait until we're done before we can start feeling proud, or before we can start talking about it, or before we can start celebrating small milestones? First, all you had was an idea. Now you have a logo. Okay? First, all you had was a mission. Now you have a following. That's all I just like doing this. Just any excuse to do this, I just find it. But celebrate your progress in whatever way you see fit. Celebrate that, because it's important and it reminds you of your greatness and that you are going in the right direction, okay? Lastly, visualize and recognize that you're almost there. Like you really are, like you're almost there. The fact that you started makes you closer than where you were before. You're almost there. And then when that doesn't help, go back to number 1. Didn't you just complete some other stuff? Right. Remember who you are. So again, this is just a recipe for pushing through challenges. And as great as we are, and we're leaders in our communities and we're heads, in our communities, and these are awesome, but we're still human beings first, right? And we still have to make sure that we are checking with ourselves and giving ourselves the nurture and the health and the time that we need to move forward. And sometimes that means putting other people's priorities and expectations being second. Yeah. Sometimes that means letting your mate or your kids know, not today, not right now. Letting your best friend know, hey, I can't make that. I got to focus on this. Again, setting those boundaries, the love and support should be there regardless, okay? Let's move on to the next one. Let's talk about what we are going to release, okay? Because we are holding on to some stuff right now. Now, this is a big one, so I hope y'all ready for this. I'm about to give a word, okay? One of the reasons why your anxiety continues to just kind of hang on you or attach to your back like a suction cup is because even though you might be following the steps and checking the boxes every day, which is great, you're not really releasing anything. I'll give you an example. There's been times that I've gone to the gym, worked out really hard, and left the gym more frustrated than I was when I went to the gym. You know, I don't know if anybody can relate to that. Like you put your energy into something like, okay, and then you just feel like you've done nothing. You feel like you haven't accomplished anything. And that's because you haven't released anything. You have to release. So the first thing we have to release is feeling vulnerability is a weakness. I don't mind being vulnerable. First of all, it lets me know that I'm still human. It also kind of confirms that I haven't drank the Kool-Aid, okay? Because I do not want to drink the Kool-Aid, all right? But it also allows me to know there are some areas that I need accommodations for. And what's wrong with that? I am not perfect. No one is perfect. And so there are going to be things that you need accommodations for, you need support for. Yes, I said need. That's okay. Remember, human beings, we need things like other people, like support, okay, like understanding. Those are the things that we need. And so that feeling of vulnerability is not a weakness. It's an opportunity for you to put in an accommodation. It's an opportunity for you to educate someone on what it is that you need moving forward. It's an opportunity for you to grow and for you to add something onto you that's going to help sustain you and help keep you steady while you navigate some of these, winding roads that you're getting ready to travel. Got to release that. What about grudge holding and retaliation? Now, when I say retaliation, most people are like, I don't retaliate on nobody. Like, I ain't doing no drive-by. I'm not egging anybody's car. I'm not toilet tissuing anybody's yard. Right. But are you thinking about it? Don't worry, I'll pause. Are you thinking about it? Does that thought about that person interrupt your day? Does it invade your thought process? Does it invade your sleep? When you see that person, do you slightly think about, just so slightly, just causing a little bit of punch to the throat, just making their teeth click just a little bit? Does that chick make you roll your eyes so hard that you almost take a nap? Okay, I'm being facetious, but I'm being serious as well. Holding a grudge isn't about just the physical part of being angry and upset and taking all that air in and constantly talking about it. Some of us are holding internal grudges that we cannot solve right now. Either that person is RIP, okay, or that person is no longer a part of our season. So when you are holding on to grudges, you are allowing that person to still have an emotional hold on to you. Think about that. The person that you're trying to get away from, that you're trying to release, that you want to let go of, that you don't want any parts of, you are literally inviting them to come and move in, with some bags and just sit up and put their feet on your coffee table and just chill. Because you're allowing that emotion, that unresolved, that closure that you feel they're supposed to give you once they acknowledge that they did something wrong. Guess what? They might not ever acknowledge they did anything wrong. Yeah, some people are like that. And then number two, they may not even be around to acknowledge that they did something wrong. So you're just going to keep holding on to that. I'm going to need you to release that. Okay. And if you can't release it by yourself, that's why there are life coaches such as myself and therapists such as myself, depending on what angle you want to go with. Because we can't keep holding on to things like that and letting negativity, letting the devil, right? Letting that into our lives. You have to release it. And if it's that strong that it's still bugging you, then you need to address it and confront it in whatever emotional way to let it go. Number three, comparing yourself to others. Ooh, that's a big one. We all do it. Even I still do it. It's going to happen from time to time. It just is what it is. And there's a healthy and unhealthy way to do that, right? The healthy way to compare yourself is you're looking at somebody else that's a boss in the same field that you're in. They doing the damn thing. So you're like, okay, you know what? Let me look at some of the ingredients in their recipe. I might need to spruce up my little recipe a little bit. I might add a little paprika, on top, give it a little flavor, a little flair, whatever that is. That's not you comparing yourself to them, meaning, oh, I'm terrible, I'm not this, I'm not that, or wishing negativity on them. This is about you looking and admiring something, a goal that you're trying to reach, and that person having achieved that. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you start comparing yourself to a person to where you are now disrespecting you by automatically assuming that they have something so much better than you, I'm here to tell you right now, honey, they don't. Trust me. Every place that a person is at, including you, in this moment, on this day, is exactly where you're supposed to be, even if it's not exactly where you want to be. I'll say it again. You are exactly where you're supposed to be, even if you're not where you want to be. Remember, it ain't about us. We're not in charge. Hello. So when you find yourself in that position, sit down, sit in it, kind of get comfortable. Be like, okay, how does this feel? Not where I want to be right now, not where I was going, but this is where I'm at. Let me accept where I'm at, and then let me start on a plan on how to readdress and move forward. But do not disrespect yourself, holding yourself to a regard of trying to match someone else's expectations or someone else's belief system in you of what you can and can't do. Okay? Stop comparing yourself. You don't know what that person did, how they did it, who they owe, or the paranoia that's following them for them to be where they are right now. You don't know the sacrifice that they had to make, right? You don't know the remorse that they may have right now, even though they're on top of the world. They lost so much getting there. Stop comparing yourself to others. Stop wishing you had other people's plates. You might get that plate with some plastic fruit on it, nothing real, okay? Number 4, distracting your growth by helping others. Now, let me tell y'all something. I used to be the queen of this, the queen of being there for other people, supporting them, having their backs, all these different things, because I was helping, and that made me feel good. It always makes me feel good to help someone else, to give someone else an opportunity to, share my wisdom or my knowledge or my nuggets or what have you. But while I'm doing that, you know what I'm not doing? Me. Take care of my responsibilities, doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing, because I'm helping other people. And I'm using that as a really positive, unhealthy rationalization for why I'm not taking care of my own business. I know it feels good to help others. And I know it feels good when something that you put your energy into turns into something. But I need you to think about the fact that the true reason why you're so busy helping them and not helping yourself is your fear of failing. Your fear of having to be accountable to yourself. Your fear of having to follow your own words, your own methods, your own expectations. That fear. How about the fear that it might not be exactly what you thought it was, or that you just don't have everything right quite together yet? Let me tell you something. You're never going to start until you start. Who cares? Do it. Go for it. Put it out there. It's about you. That's what this is about. Your growth. You can't grow through somebody else. That's why babies are born. If we could grow through somebody else, we stay in our mama's house for the rest of our dang old lives. You got to get out of the womb to grow and to stretch. And yeah, you go get your fingers burned, and you might get a few scrapes and bruises along the way, but you cannot continue to fill your space up with other people and then rationalize that as you're checking your boxes off, because you're not putting anything within yourself. Number 5, have clarity about your needs and your wants. And those are 2 different things, okay? Needs are those things that we definitely, do need. Like as human beings, we need contact with other individuals. We need love and nurture and support. Those are things that you need. We need air and water and shelter. Those are things that you need. Wants, I would want my shelter to be a nice home, or, I would want the food on my plate to be a steak, or, again, it's taking that to the next level. But we all have basic physical needs and basic emotional needs. Be clear about your emotional needs. Now, some of us don't even know what those are. We're like, well, hell, I'm not even clear with myself, right? About how I feel or what I need. So that's when you have to kind of go back and take stock. Where am I in my life right now? Why is this angst and these feelings coming on me right now? And then once you're honest with yourself, then you can really start putting the clarity in the spaces that it needs to be. But these are all the steps, right, that we have to take in order to move forward and to release things so that we're not holding on to them. Because everything that you hold on to adds to anxiety. And even though you may not be diagnosable, because I'm not quick to diagnose anybody with anything, many of us are just having repetitive characteristics because we're constantly going through anxious moments where we're questioning ourselves professionally, we're questioning ourselves as women and as men and as parents, you know what I mean, as caregivers, as friends. There's all these roles that we are playing simultaneously. And all the while, the world is chaotic as hell, and we're trying to keep up with that. We're trying to keep afloat with that. We don't want to be weak. We don't want to show this, so we compartmentalize.
We have 5 minutes, Dr. East.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, we have 5 minutes left.
Okay. So we compartmentalize and we push it down, and we don't necessarily deal with it. This is the way to release, is to make it through those feelings and those emotions, and just, stop allowing everybody else to define you. Be your own definition, and be okay with not being yes, and not being on, and not being the first to respond. They'll be all right. They'll figure out the answer. They'll call somebody else. They'll navigate it. Set those boundaries. I just want to say thank you all so much for allowing me to share with you a nugget. I tend to preach and then teach and then go back to preaching. That's just kind of my vibe of how I do stuff. But my goal is to let you all see that, like, therapy and coaching and that type of vibe, first of all, I'm here for it. But it's really all about having someone that got some good common damn sense to have a conversation with us about where we are, and who will call us out straight up, but then hug us and give us a word and tell us at least the first step on how to get to where we are. If you don't have somebody in your life that's doing that for you, guess what? I'm available. And it's time out for us to stop acting like, well, I don't want to spend money on that. I'm gonna need y'all to stop spending to look okay. And I'm gonna need you to start investing to be okay. Because if you come to me for 3 to 6 months, you may not need all that extra stuff that you feel like you need. All those things that you buy and you collect and you show and you put out there and you shine up and you wax. You may not need to do all of that. You may not need to put all that extra work in at the job that you're doing. So I just want you to recognize that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to ask for help, but know that it's people like me that are out here that have y'all back. So I thank y'all so much for allowing me to give y'all a word, give y'all a nugget today. I appreciate it.
Well, Dr. East, we're going to have you come back, because I know that there are probably some questions. And Denise, if you could enable me to share, please. But yeah, that was, now I was keeping track of the time, but then I got into what you were saying and lost track of time. Now look,
okay. I did my job then.
Or are there a couple of questions anybody wants to ask while we still have a few minutes? So unmute yourself and let's just go ahead and freestyle at this point. So if you got a question, just pop it on out there. Because like I said, we just got a couple of minutes left.
Real quick, thank you very much, Dr. East. I was just feeling you. And I really am grateful for this moment, because I just got a diagnosis from my doctor telling me that my cortisol level is extremely high. And she said, it's regardless of what you're going to take, if you don't take stock of yourself and find out what it is that is, causing your cortisol level to be this high, then no medication out there is going to help you. So I was grateful for the nuggets, and there are things, and the funny thing is that I didn't know I was so stressed. I was just going through. I didn't feel like I'm stressed. I'm just going. There's a lot on my plate, but I didn't know that. But I'm grateful for the talk, and I'll check out how. Are you local, Florida?
Yes, I'm in Florida.
Okay. Okay.
But I serve throughout the United States. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's one of the things that we are taught historically, is to keep pushing. Because if we didn't keep pushing, we were put out to pasture. You get what I mean? Like, that literally was the oppositional thought process. And so, it is important that we take our breaks and we take time. And even through this pandemic, I'll tell y'all this one little last nugget. Use your vacation time. Take a vacation. Yeah. Take a day off. Like, I don't care if you're not going anywhere. I don't care if you're not doing anything. It's your time. You earned it. No, you're not responding to emails. I don't even have an email when I'm on vacation. Do you understand? Like I metaphorically don't have one because I'm on vacation. You have to start taking those breaks, and for us to stop feeling like if we're not there, the world is going to crumble, because we know that the world will replace us very quickly. It's about us feeling good about where we are. So take your breaks.
All right. Well, Dr. East, that is
Thank you.
phenomenal. We are so pleased, honored, and privileged to have you with us here today. And you know, I'm a fan, so now everybody else knows why I am a fan. And for those of you who I know weren't here when we introduced Dr. East, I have put her bio slide back up on the screen so that you can, you know, see a little bit more about her. You will also be able to connect with her. But one of the things we're going to do right now is, if you have anything that you want Dr. East to maybe provide them in terms of contact info,
Okay.
why don't you just drop it in the chat and they can
Okay.
grab it. Okay. One of the things that you're going to get from us is a link for joining and a complimentary year membership in the ICABA World Network, so that people will be able to come back to you in the community and reach out and connect with you, you know, going forward. Okay.
Okay.
And but I know you have a lot of other platforms in terms of social and website and everything. So I want to make sure that everyone knows, because, you know, all too often, you know, there are a few people who always say yes right up front, I want to do it, and there's other people who are sitting back and they're waiting for an opportunity to do it a little bit more quietly, if you will. Take that opportunity right now. And is there anything before we close out? I know we've got my partner Denise Kegler has joined us, and she's on, and I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Hopefully you've had a chance to meet Dr. East, and if you didn't know anything in terms of her background formally, now you've got a little better idea. And we'll get ready to wrap up. I did want to say that we've got our next panel coming up at 1 o'clock with Thomas Ramsey, and he's going to kind of take off on this in terms of clarifying with a clear mind and clarified heart. And so he is actually a productivity specialist. And so he's going to help you to be able to kind of really declutter your mind and get things set up, so that, you know, I can say that probably anytime that I felt a little bit stressed, if I took time to just even write down everything that I had to do and try to do that exhaustively, I always just felt a little better once I got when I got done, because you got it out of your head, you got it out of your spirit, and at least you know it's on paper, and you can kind of deal with it a little bit easier than trying to keep up with it all in your head. And you can take that to obviously the next level. It can really help you a lot going forward as a professional. Well, thank you for everything being here today. And Dr. East, you've got the last word if you want to share anything there.
Just want to let everybody know to, you know, keep your head high, because at the end of the day, even the people that are talking mess about you are looking up to you, because that's why they're talking about you. And when you talked about, you thought about, meaning that they spending all that time with you running around in their head. So you must be amazing, honey. So recognize that.
All right. Thank you very much. And this is going to end this session. And so we're going to shut down, and we will see you next time. Thank you, guys.